Welcome to our second Grace Group series. I'm sitting here in one of our classrooms here at Grace Baptist Church. This is the Timothy Time room, designed specifically for children ages 3 to 5. I have some things with me here that go back to my childhood. A couple of dictionaries, really hefty dictionaries. In fact, it takes 2 to go through the alphabet one time. I've got one of my father's college textbooks, direct and alternating currents. I probably couldn't understand a single thing in here. Got my own college textbook, world history. Got one of my notebooks from college from HI 419. Brian Busey was the teacher there. Got this book, Great Doctrines of the Bible. I stole it from my dad's bookshelf when I went into ministry. This is kind of what we're used to in our American culture when it comes to education. A classroom, pen, pencil, notebook, textbook, a teacher. When we talk about discipleship, is that the pattern that God desires and designs? Certainly when Christ was walking this earth and during the 3.5 years of his ministry, he did a lot of teaching. He did talking, and there were people, there were pupils, there were followers, disciples who were listening and at least taking note in their mind. But when Jesus called the disciples to follow him, he called them into his life. He didn't just say, come to a classroom, come to a class setting 3 times a week or 5 times a week or 10 times a week, and I'll give you a lesson, and there'll be a test on Friday, and here's your homework, and we'll take quizzes from time to time, and I'll give you a grade, and you can graduate and get a diploma in Christianity. Of course, that wasn't even a term that they had yet, but you understand my point. Jesus said, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. My question for you is, are you a true disciple of Jesus Christ? And if you are a disciple, are you making disciples? This is the Great Commission. Make disciples of all men. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8 through 16, the Apostle Paul said, bodily exercise is profitable. You can benefit a little bit from it, a little recess. But godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come. He said, this is a faithful saying. It's worthy of your acceptation. Therefore, we both labor and suffer reproach because we trust in the living God, who is the Savior of all men, especially to those who believe. And he said, these things command and teach. Let no man despise you. Be an example. Be an example of the believer. He gives some areas in which we are to set an example. In word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. He says, until I come, give attendance, pay attention to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine, teaching, the truth. He says, don't neglect the gift that is in you, which was given you by the laying on of the hands of the ministers. Meditate on these things. Give yourself wholly or completely to them, and your profiting will appear to all around you. Take heed to yourself and unto doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this you'll save yourselves and those that hear you. I just have 3 things that I want to share with you this morning, specifically in this area of discipleship. I think back to not my school days. I hated school as a child. I love it now, but I hated it as a child. But I think also back to a friend of mine. His name was John Waddle. I say was because he died in his sleep at the age of 39. John was a teacher. He was my friend. He was a coach. He was an employer. But he taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to work. I remember going out in the field with him and him showing me how to string tomato plants. And he didn't just tell me what to do. He strapped a box onto his side and he got a pair of gloves on and he said, walk with me down this row. And he went down the row and he showed me how to string tomatoes. He did that with a lot of different things. He would teach us not only how to work, he would teach us how to play. He'd pull a wiffle ball out of his Jeep. He drove a Jeep. And he'd say, let's go out to the orchard and we'll play wiffle ball. And he would say, when we work hard. When we play hard. He taught me how to be pure. He taught me how to think. He taught me how to listen to people. But he did it by example. John invited me into his life. There were things that he liked that I didn't care about. He liked Chicago Bears football. He liked to go to the driving range and hit some golf balls. And he would take me with him. And it was a hands-on experience. And he was reaching into my life and he was training me and teaching me to reach into the lives of others. And he did this not just with me, but with many people. And Jesus did this. And he wants us to follow his example, not only so that we can be his followers and his disciples, but so that we can make followers and disciples of other men. 3 things that I want you to get down today. First of all, Jesus set an example for us. This is about authorship and illustration. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2 says, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. In several places in the New Testament, we read that he has given an example to us by washing the feet of his disciples, by suffering, enduring persecution. He set an example for us. And so we are supposed to be like Christ, right? It's the old, what would Jesus do saying. We have to have this mentality always. What is Jesus doing? Where is he going? What is he trying to accomplish? Am I following him? Am I linked in with him? Jesus was always reaching out to others. He sets the example for us. Our responsibility is to accept his example. So, number 2, acceptance and introspection. As we follow his example, we must evaluate our own example. Luke chapter 5, verse 10 and 11 says, and so was also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto Simon, fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. These disciples, in this case, James and John, Simon Peter, they accepted Jesus as their master, as their leader. They looked at themselves, what am I doing? What matters to me? They surrendered that and they followed him. Acceptance and introspection. Examine your heart. Am I truly following Christ? Or is it just a label that I'm wearing? Christianity, Christian. Is Jesus a fire escape to you? Or is he your Savior and Lord? And then number 3, just want to introduce this concept because we'll get into this a lot in the next lesson. Accountability and inspiration. We must put our banner up high so people can see it and call others to follow us as we follow Christ. So it's pretty simple. Christ sets the example. We follow him, reaching out to others. They follow us. In following us, they follow Christ. And the cycle continues to expand as he reaches into our life, as he reaches down from heaven and rescues us. We're used by him to reach out to others. This is discipleship. Not just education, but a change in your life where you become like Christ. God bless you. Take some time now, look at the discussion questions, and examine your own heart and life. Talk about this among the others who are in your group. Be an example for the glory of God.